Welcome to Digital Dialogues by Maritime Gateway. Today we have a guest with us, Mr. Vivek Kele, founder of Teamglobal Logistics Pvt Ltd. Mr. Vivek Kele is graduate in economics from the prestigious Ferguson College, Pune, with a post-graduation in business management. After working for 14 years, he started his own business of logistics in the year 2005. His company Teamglobal operates in different segments of logistics, namely sea freight, air freight, coastal cargo, project cargo, transportation, road haulage, freight stations, equipment leasing, postal forwarding, and CFS operations. Today, the company has 18 offices in India, Bangladesh, and East Africa, and an employee strength of 800 people. Mr. Vivek Kele is a prominent speaker at logistics seminars and conferences organized by CII, Ministry of Shipping, and Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. He was president of AMTOI, Association of Multimodal Transport Operators of India, from 2015 to 2017, and also chairman FILA, Federations of Indian Logistics Association, from 2018 to 2020. Since 2016, he is executive member, governing council, logistics sector skill council, and also member on governing board of Narottam Morarji Institute of Shipping. Welcome to the show, Mr. Vivek Kele. It's a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you, Mr. Ramprasad. The pleasure is equally mine, and I'm looking forward to having an interesting conversation with you.
Thank you. Let me begin by a very obvious question. COVID-19 pandemic has impacted almost every business in our sector. What about LCL consolidation? How was the business? What were the challenges you faced, and what is the current scenario?
Yeah, so of course, needless to say, and all of us know that COVID-19 has impacted different businesses differently. And also what we see in the logistics sector as such, among the different segments within the logistics sector, it has affected different segments differently. So if you're talking about specifically the LCL consolidation business, which has been the first segment of business that we started in, LCL business has traditionally been very insulated to market ups and downs. Even when we had the global meltdown in 2009, LCL sector was doing okay. And then thereafter, we have seen global trade moving up and down, and it has LCL's business has been quite steady. Now you'll ask me, what is the secret of LCL business being steady? The answer is very simple. When the economy is down, the full container load orders get converted to less than container loads. And when the economy is up, all the LCLs get converted into full container loads, but there is always new samples which are being sample orders which are moving in on less than container load terms. So as such, LCL business has been insulated from the global up and downs. COVID has not been an exception to that. Only in the beginning of the pandemic, which is April and May, when there was a strict restrictions on movement of goods due to the lockdown 1 and lockdown 2 within India. At that time, we had impact of LCL movement going down. In fact, we had virtually no movement in the month of April, and slowly started picking up in the month of May. And we are, if I can say, on the LCL side, we are almost back to the pre-COVID levels, because we've seen a lot of full container load orders have been converted to LCL. So there's always, some cargo that is moving on the LCL mode. If that gives you some idea, background as to how the dynamics of the LCL business and how the pandemic has affected it.
That's good. Some positive side of the pandemic. Sure. But how about other businesses? You have almost virtually in every segment of the business, so which have been badly affected, and what about other segments?
So amongst all the segments, that you mentioned in the introduction, the two segments have been very severely impacted. One is the air freight, because there is no passenger movement, or it's very limited. And because of the travel restrictions, no passenger aircrafts are flying, or very limited passenger aircrafts are flying. So there's virtually no belly capacity. And so the only air capacity that's available for transportation by air is on freighters, dedicated freighters. And dedicated freighters, because of the demand and supply situation, the freight rates were as high as 10 times. If you had something that you could move for 70 or 80 rupees a kg, pre-COVID, the rate for the same airport pairs, the rate went as high as 700, 800 rupees per kg. And the business just could not afford it because there was just no, that was not factored into the cost of the goods while such high air freight cost. So what has traditionally been moving by air since the pandemic time is only essential goods and mainly pharmaceuticals. So yes, that particular, and we were never in the pharmaceutical space, barring some few shippers here and there. So that has been one very powerfully impacted segment for Team Global. Thereafter, also I can talk specifically about Project Cargo. So our Project Cargo division, has also been seeing virtually no or very little business during the pandemic times. In fact, for the last 6 months, we haven't got any single large order. That's because everybody has put their expansion plans on hold. And when you talk about Project Cargo movement, it's basically movement of large plant and machinery. And that actually has not been happening. And that's another segment of ours which has been badly impacted.
Your response gives rise to a lot of questions that I would like to ask.
Sure.
But let me jump to the question. What are the lessons that you have learned during this period while all these businesses getting affected? So what was your assessment and what is the takeaway?
The biggest learning has been about the human resilience. The second thing that I would like to mention here is about the technology. Advent of technology or the availability of internet has really done away with the requirement of physical movement or physical presence in offices. So we have now entered a world of virtual, I would say virtual reality, but virtual workspaces.
You are one of the early preachers of digitalization, bringing technology to use in our industry. I think you worked hard through the organizational feel also to see that this thing happens. Now, COVID-19 has actually accelerated the digitalization. So what is your take? How are things on the usage of technology in our industry, and what else needs to be done?
So technology does two things. Firstly, it does, one of the biggest impacts of technology is disintermediation. It removes the middleman. So middlemen are supposed to do certain functions in terms of putting a transaction together. But with a good technology interface and a platform, you don't need a middleman. You just need to just go online and do it. I mean, we have seen in e-commerce. Why did e-commerce bloom? I mean, because it was easy for people to stop going and physically traveling to a shop and having to take the trouble of choosing their material, or seeing whether it's available, not available, then going into another shop and then checking its availability, checking the quality, and then taking their decision pertaining to shopping. This particular way of transacting has slowly permeated into various sectors. Somehow the shipping industry was staying away from it for various reasons, because space was controlled by certain shipping lines. The freight forwarding, the procurement of the transport was in the hand of certain middlemen. They were not only doing the procurement of transportation, but they were also adding a lot of value in terms of freight forwarding, in terms of 3PL logistics, 4PL logistics, and various what have you. What has so essentially it was the disintermediation was not happening in our industry, and I don't think it is going to happen so soon. Till so time the value addition still happens, but there is certain layer of intermediaries. Among all the intermediaries, there are different kinds of intermediaries, and there's a layer of intermediaries who are not adding any value. They are just buying and selling freight. So shipping lines have realized why would be at the mercy of certain intermediaries who are not adding any value. So why not we try to give a good experience to the shipper and give him access to our services. So all the shipping lines now have come up. So rather than having a common platform, everybody has come up their own platform. So be it starting with Maersk, which has always been ahead of the curve, MSC and CMA CGM, now Hapag-Lloyd, and other shipping lines have slowly started offering their services on the platform, and they have ensured that the platform is effectively used by cutting away the other ways of transacting business. First, they said that if you want to submit an SI, only submit it through a platform. If you want to do a booking, come to a platform. Now, all these days, even the rates were away from the platform. Now they said if you want rates, with Maersk spot rates and other shipping lines also offering something similar, we have to go to a platform and do it. So they have tried to do away with the intermediaries by ensuring that the services are accessible to everybody. But intermediaries still hold relevance in our industry, because intermediaries are not only buying and selling freight services, they're also adding value in terms of transportation, in terms of warehousing, in terms of labeling, packing, custom clearances, etc. So that's how the technology is playing its role. What we also seen is that customs is becoming very technologically savvy. They have come up with faceless examination. They have been upgrading their platforms. Now online custom clearance is available. Now in the shipping bill is, it's not available in physical format anymore. It's just available on a PDF format. So what we are seeing is that even the value addition in the area of custom clearance by an intermediary is slowly reducing. Now the real concentration of value addition will be in terms of handling of goods. How fast can you handle it? What will be the at what cost will it be available? What value additions are you giving in terms of maybe warehousing, in terms of labeling? How are you taking away the pain points of a manufacturer or a supplier and a buyer? So that's where that will determine your relevance, and that combined with technology, we will ensure that you continue to remain in the business.
In all this environment of the shift happening towards kind of a maturity in use of technology, some of the regulatory changes that are coming from the customs and all that, where does customers stand? Are we taking him also into the consideration and then evolving?
I think yes, the customer is very much being taken into the consideration. I think he's being empowered. Now, similarly, existing a lot of shippers are sometimes at the mercy of their intermediaries, because they don't have the knowledge or they don't have access to the suppliers. So I think technology is making supply easy, or accessibility to supply easy, and that's how you are empowering the shippers more.
Let us talk about operational issues. I understand from the market that there is a huge imbalance happening between exports and imports, putting pressure on equipment, non-availability of boxes. So in your line of business, what do you see?
Yeah, so we are into various lines of business, be it LCL consignment, be it full container forwarding, or be it coastal shipping, wherever the containers are required. It has affected us equally. And we are, so of course, because of the gap in demand and supply, the freight rates have gone up. And it's just that, the cost of transporting the goods has directly has had an impact on cost of transportation of the goods. So yes, that is a bitter pill, which, and then if, of course, it gets transferred on to the shipper, he may or may not have accounted for it. The shippers sometimes have been beneficiaries of the freight rates going down, and there they have saved money. Unfortunately, today is a situation in which the freight rates have gone up, and it's not going to be permanent. It is only going to be for the next couple of months, till so time the inventory or the empty inventory is repositioned back to India, and there are enough containers available to take care of the demand here. So yes, the cost has gone up, and it is not. So we are having difficult conversations with the customers, explaining them the increase in cost, and ensuring that the supply chains are still, the integrity of supply chain is still maintained. So that's a challenge, because sometimes in today's scenario, it's not only availability of the equipment, but it's also availability of space. Because during the pandemic, a lot of services were closed down. There was, shipping lines thought that the pandemic impact on the global trade is going to stay for a longer time, and that is the reason they rationalized the capacities. They merged certain services, so that's how the capacity also got reduced. So today, a shipper may be ready to pay higher cost in terms of the freight, ocean freight, but he may not still get the space. So that's another challenge. So yes, as people who have been trying to help the shippers to achieve their objectives of timely delivery of the goods to their customers.
A while ago, you mentioned about project cargo not picking up because of stagnation, and expansion of projects is on hold, and new projects not coming up. Now, government is infusing a lot of money into the market to improve the manufacturing, promote exports, and also this Make in India slogan slowly looks like taking shape. contributing the geopolitical factors also pushing us to generate more exports, more manufacturing, more sourcing happening in India. So in this backdrop, how do you see more cargo generating out of India?
So what has happened is because of Make in India, there may be some capacity, production capacities will shift to India. Currently, it's only on a discussion phase. Company, when you are talking about in the initial phases, and we saw that a lot of mobile manufacturing in Modi era 1.0 in his first stint as a prime minister, we saw a lot of focus was on electronic goods shifting of them to India, and there was a lot of through play of import duties, manufacturing locally was made attractive. So we saw a lot of huge mobile manufacturing shifting to India and few other industries. But there was, for manufacturing of these electronic goods, you don't require large machineries. What you require is assembly lines of essentially workers and some electronic spare parts that are normally, moved by air. So that really did not help the project cargo transportation. The project cargo transportation industry is when we are talking about setting up of large petrochemical plants, we are talking about setting up of large hydroelectric plants, car manufacturing. There has not been a single large car manufacturing assembly line that has come to India, except for the Kia motors, which came into Andhra Pradesh couple of years ago. Otherwise, in the last 10 years, we have not seen any major assembly line coming in. We have not seen any large hydroelectric projects being started because everything is moving to solar, and solar panels are essentially moved in containers. So industrial units are still not being capacities in terms of manufacturing where odd dimensional plant and machinery is required is still not there. So that is the reason we have not seen any movement of such goods. It is on the EXIM side. And possibly over a period of time also, some of these plant and machines are also being manufactured in India. So whatever movement is happening or whatever capacities are being set up that are being met with locally procured, machineries. And so that the movement is happening locally. So coming back to movement of project cargo, I think it is still going to be a little slow for, if not a few years or a decade, but it will be at least for next 1 or 2 years, it will be a little slow.
Let's talk about your company, Mr. Kele. It's exactly, I think, about 15 years ago you started this company. So when you look back, when you travel down the memory lane, how do you feel? Have you achieved your goals, or in the sense like, are you on track of what you have planned, and what are your plans for the coming years?
I'll be very brutally honest and frank with you. As an organization, I think we have achieved more than what we had set out for. I'll be very honest with you. We started by offering a small bouquet of services of LCL car consolidation, inbound and outbound, and some FCL forwarding. But once we were in business, we realized that a professional approach and adherence to quality has fast acceptance by customers. So we said that why not, since we set up a shop, why not we look at growing our business into various verticals, not only in terms of segments, but also in terms of geographies. So that's how slowly, as and when we have seen opportunities, we have expanded geographically, and we also expanded in terms of various business segments. So that has been our journey so far. And if you ask me about broader milestones about our organization, I think we started our air freight division way back in year 2008. When we saw that, yes, there's an opportunity to be in air freight business. Then we started our own office in North India, which is a very tougher place to do business because of its competitive nature. Then we started our own East Africa offices in year 2012. Then we started our CFS division in 2014 through our first inorganic growth acquisition in your home city of Hyderabad. We opened our own office in Bangladesh in 2015. We started our own green CFS, first green CFS in the country at Nhava Sheva in 2017. We started a coastal forwarding division in 2018. And I think our latest expansion has been acquiring of Chandra CFS in Chennai in late 2019.
Okay, your presence in Bangladesh and East Africa, I think both are like a very challenging as well as very prospective regions to look forward to grow or to expand. So what is your perspective on these two countries?
So I think Bangladesh has got much more opportunities, because firstly, I think Bangladesh is one of the largest supplier of garments globally. I think 14% of the global garments are manufactured in Bangladesh. The Bangladesh per capita income is more than that of India. So Bangladesh, has opportunities in terms of offering professional logistics services. So we are slowly, seeing whether currently we are offering our products of LCL consolidation only there, and we are seeing whether there is an opportunity to expand into other segment of logistics. So that's about Bangladesh. About East Africa, East Africa is a mixed bag, because the markets that we are present into are Kenya and Tanzania. So there's, of course, there is a local economy, and then there's a lot of transit cargo that moves into Central Africa through these countries. So there have been, Africa is all dependent on three factors. One is the local, they're still agrarian economies, so the economy depends on the local crop that happens every year. Two is the international aid they receive, and three is the political stability. So every year, and all these three are very dynamic, and every year you see, there is some one of these three factors are always at play. So although it's a very prospective geographical area to be, but the growth opportunities are little wanting still. But it's good to be present there and have your operation going, and prepare yourself for some large opportunities that may come your way. So that's how I would like to explain our East Africa operations.
Finally, we are looking at vaccine coming in the next few weeks or months. Of we are hearing talks that by December it could be there, and the economy also seems to be slowly reviving. So what are you looking forward? When will things really business as usual?
So when the vaccine comes in, firstly, logistically, the challenge is how do you reach the vaccine to every member of the population in every country globally. So then, so I guess there will be, it's still an area that remains unexplored, and there is not enough data available on it, or there are no enough approaches, but that everybody's thinking as to how best to do it. So of course, there are certain existing cold chains which are existing, not designed for vaccine movement, but probably designed for food products, maybe ice creams or chocolates or wine, and there are storage areas. They will have to be a few months or maybe 6 to 12 months in which these existing cold chains capacities will have to be used for, vaccine will have to be given a predominance over food items. So this is my purely my guess as to how it will play, because there's no point in developing dedicated supply chains only for movement of vaccine, because after 1 year of extensive vaccination program, you may not, those capacities may not be of any use. Cold chain capacities don't get created overnight. It requires some dedicated efforts and huge investments before they get created. So I guess this all play is going to happen in year 2021. Traditionally, India has been one of the largest vaccine manufacturing areas. So its impact will be that I think there'll be huge evacuation by air from India. So whatever vaccines get manufactured in India, though it may be probably the patent will be with some other international company, but manufacturing may still happen in India. So there will be huge air freight capacities, or opportunities which will be available. Now that's on the logistics side, and specifically in the Indian context. And then locally we'll have to distribute it. So we'll have to figure out a way of to how locally these vaccines will be administered to our population. And as I mentioned to you, there are existing supply chains. We'll have to see whether they can be we can superimpose vaccine distribution using those supply chains. So that would be my inputs on how the things are going to happen when the vaccine is available, when in terms of logistics of vaccine and in terms of its effect on the businesses.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vivek Kele, joining with us today and sharing a lot of insights, not only into the business operations of Team Global, but on several aspects of our industry, the use of technology, and also you have given a peep into what would happen in 2021, how things will change, which opportunities will emerge. So thank you very much for your thoughts.
It was a pleasure, Mr. Ramprasad, always a pleasure to talk to you and having a conversation with you. Wish you the very best for your media house, and look forward to keeping in touch and sharing more knowledge and information. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.